it might be the blowout or anything like that. That's your proof of concept right there. Abubu took the first game, and there's only 11 left to go before someone gets a move on to the round of 16.
Yeah, speaking of getting a move on though, Promo's really getting a move on with this classic 6-3, going into a very nice fractal, building up that back-to-back super early, but breaking it in order to keep a little bit of a cleaner board state. Abubu, on the other hand, definitely going for the a little bit more slow and calculated gameplay here, building up super carefully and making sure not to send too early to Promo.
Ooh, and now it is Promo sitting on 8 back-to-back, who's going to be taking the first round of the main match, proving that that may just have been a fluke, that may have been a warm-up, something to get the hands ready to groove. And Abubu, on the other hand, is having to prove that they can go toe-to-toe with a player who is such a dominant force in the community and such a powerful threat to just play against. And now it is Abubu's turn on the offensive. We'll have to see what they do with it. What they do with it seems to be sending Promo all the way to the top. That's breaking the back-to-back right there. And this is Abubu's time to shine. But it's also their time to be completely cheesed up. Not a good combination. And Promo will take it all the way down and take it to 2-0.
That was brutal though. I don't know if you caught that or not, but Abubu playing normally for a sec, and then all of a sudden their board is completely full of cheese in just an instant. So it really goes to show the power of canceling, and that you really need those blocks in order to survive those cheese.
Yeah, and Abubu actually made an unfortunate decision there. While it was a great idea to wait, they waited right as Promo had misdropped on their side, and it spelled disaster because you gave Promo all the time in the world to look at you waiting, say, okay, and then fix the stack. And that led to Promo being back in control with back-to-back and back to taking another round.
Alright, back to the game though. It seems like Abubu going for the SCPC, transitioning to a pretty solid mid-game, but Promo's APM back-to-back 5 is looking a little bit scary until they break it, and giving Abubu a chance to fight back and build up their own attacks here.
And speaking of build, the pressure is building on Abubu's side, and all clear from Promo coming out mid-game. Huge. Promo's definitely looking for the TST there, but not going to have the J piece to fill in that main part and build up the TST's central body, so decides to just opt out of that and cancel while they still have a chance to. And instead, Promo is building up this 5-4 stack and starting to get some back-to-back going, but instead getting cheesed up as Abubu's defense comes in full force here, stopping that back-to-back in its tracks before it can start and before it can prove to be deadly.
Absolutely, yeah. Very unfortunate that Abubu could not capitalize on Promo's board state. But honestly, playing against Promo, you need to do anything you can do to even survive, let alone punish back. But it seems like Promo is still going to do the one punishing for this Grand Finals match. And as a reminder, Abubu does need to take a bracket reset, winning twice in order to win the Grands here.
Absolutely. There's only one thing harder than stopping Promo and bracket, and that's stopping Promo and bracket twice. So definitely a tough mountain to climb, but not an insurmountable one for a player as skilled as Abubu. And meanwhile, Promo is absolutely going ham with that mid-game DT cannon off of the back-to-back. Insane levels of APM, 5-0 Promo right now. And what do you think Abubu has to, even can do to stop this onslaught?
The biggest rough point for Abubu so far seems to be their misdrops. Very understandable playing against Promo, who's so fast. But I think that if Abubu can keep their misdrops under control and punish at opportune times, we could see areas where Promo is in a bad spot. But speaking of bad spots though, Abubu is in a really bad spot as Promo has a 9-0 well, completely taking the punish, and a 6-0 lead against Abubu. Abubu's really needing to think about optimal placements and optimal ways to survive and punish back if they want to win this.
Alright, and now it is Promo who is getting back-to-back at the moment here. Abubu sitting on 5, and a bunch of clean garbage to boot, up 15 into the TSS, 17, 29. Huge damage coming out from Abubu, but Promo was ready to accept their sacrifice to back-to-back in the process, but staying alive for now. And now Abubu is once again on the defensive here, a change from what we saw just a moment ago, but it could be a deadly one. And Promo is starting to respond in kind with the back-to-back, forcing Abubu to break theirs and starting to build up some back-to-back of their own.
Yeah, Abubu does have some cheese to deal with right now. I feel like if they're playing against someone like Backchest earlier, they could have just built up on top of it, but playing against Promo, they really cannot afford to greed unless their back-to-back is already significant enough. and it seems like Promo is putting on enough pressure that Abubu does not have the luxury of just building up some more back-to-back at the moment. Speaking of back-to-back though, Promo looking to go with a kind of LST shape, building up as much back-to-back as they can. Back-to-back 4 and a 5. Abubu push to the top of the board, struggling to escape here, and they just need this piece, but I don't think it's going to work out for them as Promo takes his 7th round, just like his 7th O. I think it's 7, right? 2, 4.
All right.
Yeah.
And it is sweep potential right now for Promo. A grand final sweep would be making a statement going into the round of 16, but Abubu has no plans to let that happen. Starting to speed up here and get down with this clean stacking that we've seen. Gets a nice combo out, but even then, as they were actively comboing, they were still being out APM'd by Promo, and Promo bring it up to 8-0.
Honestly, that 28 spike from Promo is disgusting, and not only are the spikes huge from Promo, they are super fast too. I don't know if you can tell, but Promo is almost a full PPS faster than Abubu, putting out a lot of pressure to boot too. It's not even like the Promo's just a strider, they have the power to make some pretty solid plays and punish too.
Alright, and now Abubu is going to have to do some punishing at the very current moment as Promo has no back-to-back to be found. Right as I say that though, that has already changed in the time it took for me to say that. But Abubu has 20 spikes off of their back-to-back and 9 of that back-to-back to go around. How good? What's the usage that they can get out of this is remains to be seen, but so far they have been doing a great job bringing it up to 15, 16, and against a player like Promo, this is exactly where you want to be. You want to be controlling the offensive pace of this match, and Abubu is doing just that. Unfortunately, forced to break it, being so cheesed up on top of that. A very good decision to avoid breeding too hard, because you can get counter-spiked at a moment's notice, but that is definite evidence that Abubu can take control, so Promo cannot get too comfortable here.
Absolutely, and speaking of getting too comfortable, it seems like Abubu is able to capitalize on Promo's board state and take their first round, which is crazy. Not even the back-to-back, but it was just right afterwards. I really hope that Abubu does have enough to come back from this, but Promo is not going to let that one slide, building a back-to-back of their own at a blistering speed that they are known for.
Yeah, and speaking of blisters, you gotta imagine Abubu's got some blisters on their hands playing this fast to keep up with Promo. They are going almost a full 0.5 PPS faster than they normally play, and so consistently for so long too. An incredible showing, but speaking of incredible, that was an incredible amount of APM being sent over by Promo to bring it up to 9-1.
Yeah, this is a disgusting lead for Abubu, who is undoubtedly feeling the pressure of the score so far. Promo probably in a pretty good place to punish. Abubu's all clear, unfortunately not doing enough, and Promo's spiking back real hard with a back-to-back 6 and 400 verses to take the match point.
Alright, and Promo is 1 point away from proving why they are the 1 seed in Tetrio World Championships, and moving on as the Group A #1 to the round of 16. Can Abubu stop that, or will Promo prove to be too much of a titan to fall?
Yeah, it seems like one player is going to be falling real soon. Promo back-to-back 9 to the top of the board, and Abubu's push up to the very top, and Promo is taking the game for the grand finals of Tetrio World Championship Group A. Holy.
All right. What a banger set to end it off on. And I mean, that was just wild. Like, Promo displayed such an incredible prowess of not only APM, but just